the man accidentally obtained a time-space mailbox. The manual told him that with it he could send letters to anyone in the past. To verify if it was real, he decided to write today's lottery numbers on a letter and send it to his past self. The next morning, to his shock, he found the lottery ticket in his pocket. The man was stunned. He immediately ran to the time-space mailbox, opened it and checked the letters inside, but found it empty. He carefully checked the ground and found nothing. This made him sure that the letter he wrote had truly disappeared. He began to suspect that the time-space mailbox really could send letters to the past. Filled with excitement, he immediately locked the mailbox in a cabinet like a treasure. After collecting his 1 million from the lottery, he couldn't help but slap himself, making sure he wasn't dreaming. With this new power, the man immediately decided to make himself rich. He rushed to the nearby stock exchange and wrote down all the stocks that were trending upward. However, this action invited mockery from a wealthy second-generation heir and his ex-girlfriend. They thought the man couldn't afford stocks, yet he was making unnecessary moves. The man, upset, thought to himself, if it weren't for them he wouldn't have ended up in this situation. 3 years ago his ex-girlfriend accused him of attempting to take advantage of her in court, which led to him spending 3 years in prison. Now he decided to use this opportunity to get revenge. Ignoring their mockery, he went home and wrote a letter to his past self, telling him to invest all his money in stocks, and even take out loans to buy more. The next day when he checked his bank balance, he was ecstatic. He had become a multi-millionaire. However, his laughter was quickly interrupted by his landlord. When he saw her, he greeted her enthusiastically, but the landlord told him someone had offered 3 times the rent to take over his apartment, and since she needed the money she reluctantly agreed. The man thought this wasn't a big deal, and decided to buy the apartment outright. The landlord thought he was joking, but when the man pulled out his bank card to pay, she was shocked to realize he was serious. The person offering 3 times the rent was the wealthy second-generation heir who had been causing him trouble. His goal was to drive the man to the edge, but when she called him to inform him the man had already bought the apartment, the second-generation heir was furious, but quickly calmed down, because he had a plan. Once the plan succeeded, the man would have no way to rise again. Meanwhile, the landlord, after hearing from the man, finally understood the grudge between them, and stood by his side to celebrate. She even started to look at him differently, pretending to be drunk. She tried to seduce him. Just as the man hesitated, he accidentally saw his college classmates seemingly in danger. He knew the girl's father was the head of the business association, a big shot in the underground world, so he immediately decided to follow and see what was going on. To his shock, he witnessed the second-generation heir and some thugs cornering the girl on a bridge. They were attempting to assault her, but to his surprise the girl was very strong-willed. To protect her honor, she chose to jump into the river to end her life. Seeing this, the thugs quickly fled in fear. Once they were far enough, the man rushed over, hoping to save the girl, but despite his best efforts, the girl couldn't be saved. In his frustration, the man suddenly thought maybe he could use the time-space mailbox to change her fate, so he immediately ran home, just to catch the news that the girl's father had offered a 10 million reward for her whereabouts. This solidified his decision to save her. He quickly organized a rescue plan, and wrote a letter to his past self. Although he knew that forcibly changing someone's fate might drag him into the abyss, he couldn't forget how the second-generation heir had wronged him 3 years ago, and locked him